So we're going to be taking a look at solving systems by elimination. So when we're solving systems by elimination, it's going to be a method to solve just like substitution was, but this one's a little bit different. And you can really pick which method works best for you. So let's take a look at the solving steps. So the first thing you want to do is add the two equations together. And when you do that, one of the variables should cancel out. If not, we're going to have to do some extra step, but we'll talk about that in our second note video. The second thing you're going to do is solve for the remaining variable. And you're going to substitute that value into one of the other equations and solve for the other variable. So again, we're going to end up getting both answers for each letter that's in our equation. So that can be kind of confusing, so I think it's easiest just to put it into practice. So what we want to look for is that they have same number on the outside with opposite signs. So if you look at the x's, both of the x's have a 1 on the outside, and they have opposite signs. So since we have the same number on the outside of one of our letters with opposite signs, we can go ahead and add down the columns. 1 plus a negative 1x is going to cancel out to 0x. So I don't have to worry about my x's anymore. Now I'm going to add down the y columns. 2y minus y is just y. 10 minus 6 is 4. So then now I know that y is equal to 4. So now I'm going to go in and I can plug in y here or here. It doesn't matter which one, but I like to look at which one is going to be easiest to solve. So I think the top one on number 1 is easier to solve, but ultimately it doesn't matter. So I'm going to take my y out and I'm going to put 4 in instead. So I substitute that out. So I have x plus 2 times 4, which is 8, and that's going to be equal to 10. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So then I get that x is equal to 2. So now I know my x and my y, and I'm going to write it out as a coordinate point. First my x, and then my y. So that's my final answer for number 1. Let's take a look at number 2. Again, those y's each have a coefficient of 1 in front of them. And I notice that they have opposite signs, a +1 and one of them has a -1. So then I can go ahead and I can cancel those guys out when I add down the columns. So I can go ahead to use elimination right away. So then I'm going to have 2x minus 3x. Well, that's going to give me a negative 1x. 4 minus 8 is going to be a negative 4. So now I'm going to solve for x. I'm going to subtract or divide both sides by a negative 1, so I can just get what x is equal to. Well, negative 4 divided by negative 1 is a positive 4, and now I can plug that in for either one of the x's in the original equation. I'm going to plug it into that first one. So I have 2x and then plus, I need to plug in the x. So now I'm going to take that x out, and instead of having x, I'm going to put 4. Now I'm going to keep the rest of the equation exactly as is. So I have 2 times 4, which is going to give me 8, plus y is equal to 4. So I'm going to go ahead here and subtract 8 from both sides. So then I get that y is equal to a negative 4. So now that I have my x and my y, I write that out as a coordinate point, x, y. And that's my final answer for number 2. Next, let's take a look at number 3. So again, I want to take a look at my coefficients. So I notice that I have a positive 2x and a negative 2x. Same number, opposite sign. I'm good to use elimination. So I can go ahead and add down the columns. So those will cancel out when I add down the columns. 3y plus 2y is going to give me 5y. Negative 11 plus 6 is going to give me a negative 5. So now I'm ready to solve this for y. Since that 5 is being multiplied by the y, I can go ahead and divide both sides by 5. So I end up getting that y is equal to a negative 1. So now I know that y is equal to a negative 1, so I can put it in here or here. It doesn't matter which one I put it in. It's really up to you. So I'm decided I'm going to put it in the first one. So I keep the entire equation the same, except instead of writing y, I'm going to put in that negative 1. And that's equal to a negative 11. So then I get negative 2x, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and that's equal to a negative 11. So now I want to solve this for x. So the first thing I'm going to do is add 3 to both sides. So then I get negative 2x is equal to a negative 8. So now I'm going to divide both sides by -2. Well, when you divide a negative by a negative, it's going to become positive. So I get that x is equal to a +4. So x is equal to a +4 and y is equal to a -1. So I have the point 4, -1. Now let's take a look at number 4. So for number 4, again, my y's have the same sign. Okay, or sorry, opposite sign, same number on the outside. So again, I'm ready to use elimination, and I can go ahead and multiply down the columns. X plus x is going to give me, or x plus 7x is going to give me 8x. My y's cancel out, and 9 plus 7 is going to give me 16. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 8. 16 divided by 8 is going to give me 2. So I get that x is equal to 2. So where I see x up here, I can plug in 2 for either one of those. I'm going to plug it into the second one. Again, it doesn't actually matter. So I take out the x and I'm going to put 2 in instead. And the rest of the equation is going to be the exact same after that. So here I'm going to get 14 plus y is equal to 7. Subtract 14 from both sides, and I get that y is equal to -7. So x is equal to 2 and y is equal to -7. So that's my solution for number 4. Now let's take a look at number 5. So what I notice on number 5 is that my y's have the same number, but they don't have opposite signs. So I'm going to have to do something to create opposite signs. Well, to change the sign of anything, we multiply by a -1. But we can't just multiply a y by a -1. We have to multiply the entire equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bottom equation and multiply it by a -1. It actually doesn't matter which equation you choose. So I have x minus 1y equals 9. That's going to stay the same up top. But then on the bottom, all of those signs are going to change. They all happen to be negative, so they all flip to a positive. So I changed all of those signs. Now I notice that I have opposite signs, so my y will cancel, and I'm ready to use elimination. Well, x plus 7x is going to give me 8x, and 9 plus 7 is going to give me 16. Divide both sides by 8, and I get that x is equal to 2. So now I need to plug in that x. And guess what? I can use my new version or I can use any of the old versions. It doesn't matter. You can plug it into any of those equations. So let's just plug it into that one I multiplied by a negative just for fun and plug it into the new version. So I get this. Okay, and now I need to solve this for y. So I have 14 plus y is equal to 7. Subtract 14 from both sides, and I get that y is equal to a -7. So then I can write out that point to -7 as my final answer for number 5. Now let's take a look at number 6. Number 6 has the same deal. We have -4x and -4x. They have the same number, but they don't have opposite signs. So what I'm going to do is multiply one of them by a negative. I don't know why. I always choose to multiply the second one. It really doesn't matter which one you choose to multiply. So I'm going to keep the top one the same, and then I'm going to change the signs of everything in the second one. And now I have the opposite sign, so I can use elimination because my x's will cross out. So 2 minus 3y is going to give me a -y. 8 minus 10 is going to give me a -2. Well, in order to get y to be positive, I need to divide both sides by a -1. So then I end up getting that y is equal to 2. And again, I can plug it into either of my original versions or any of my second versions as well. So let's just plug it into the top one. So I have -4x plus 2. Now I'm going to take y out and I'm going to put 2 in instead. So all of the equations stay the same except for me plugging in the value for y that we know. So I have -4x plus 4 is equal to 8. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides and I get that -4x is equal to 4. So then I'm going to divide both sides by a -4, and I end up getting that x is equal to a -1. So x is equal to a -1, and now we need to write that as a coordinate point, -1, 2. Remember that points are always x, y. Let's take a look at this word problem. So the sum of two numbers is 12. So I'm going to let my numbers be x and y. So the sum of those two numbers is 12. The difference of the same two numbers is -4. So the difference means we're subtracting them. And when we subtract them, we get -4. Now we need to find the two numbers. So you could guess and check, or now you can solve it mathematically using systems. Well, I already see that I have the same number with the y's and the opposite sign, so I can use elimination because those will cancel out. So x plus x is 2x. 12 minus 4 is 8. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 2 to solve for x, and I end up getting that x, one of the numbers, is equal to 4. Now we need to get the second number, so I can plug it into either one of my x's. I'm going to plug it into the top. So I take x out and I put 4 in instead. So I have 4 plus y is equal to 12. So now to solve for y, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and I'm going to get that y is equal to 8. The great part about this is you can always plug these numbers back in to check your answers. That's one way you can make sure you're doing it right, is you can actually check all of your answers. So this is only going to be the first part of your note video. What I would like you to do is get the practice sheet, and you can go ahead and complete the first couple on the practice sheet. Check the Schoology assignment to see where you need to stop. Thanks for listening.